Section 6.4, we're going to talk about nth roots. So basically, we're going to talk about square roots, cube roots, fourth roots, fifth roots, like cube roots. Okay. So this is some vocabulary from chapter 6 that you guys did last quarter, but we're probably going to have to bring it up because at the end of this quarter, we'll do another test over vocabulary. Okay, so we're looking for the nth root. So today, the thing about today that we're going to concentrate on is when to use absolute value symbols, and everything today is going to be perfect. What that means is you're going to be able to take the cube root of everything inside the radical. Tomorrow, probably not, but today, everything you're going to be able to take the cube root, the square root, the quartic root. Okay. So, we wrote our perfect squares down. So I want to draw your attention to this right here. The number that's inside is called the index. That's your nth root. So what root are you looking for? You guys, that is the square root, okay? There's no number inside, so that's the square root. I want you to get in the habit that when you write this, the number you're looking for goes in the check mark as close as possible. If you put it on the outside, it's going to become 3 square roots of 3. And that's not what you want. You don't want it to happen. And a lot of kids say, no, it's the cube root. You can tell. It doesn't matter if you write it small or not. If that number is not in the checkpoint, like in the check mark when you go to write it, someone else is going to read it a different way. So you always want to make sure the index number is within the check mark, because there might be a number that we write out front of it and you don't want them to get confused. So make sure that when you go to write them, that you're writing them in the check mark, the index, okay? Today it's not such a problem, but when we start having numbers and letters in front of a radical sign, then it's going to become a problem. Now, there's a couple of things that you need to know about your calculator. Your calculator, there's going to be a calculator part and no calculator part, okay? Just so you know, because every calculator can do different things. So I just want to make sure that you know that. Okay. So if it's a negative number underneath the square root, we talked about that, you're going to put an I. So square roots of negative real numbers for positive real number b. Remember, it's bi, and we talked about those last week. So like the square root of, so if we took the square root of negative 4, if you took the square root of negative 4, that would be 2i. You also need to think about principal square roots. The principal square root is the one that we're going to find always, unless it tells you differently. So right here, that's the principal square root. If I would put this in front, and that means you would put plus or minus 2i. So principal square root, this tells you I want both roots. I have to specify now. If I do not specify, so principal, both root, negative root. So it's really, right now, unless they specifically tell you, you will always find the principal root. And the principal root is always that positive root. Okay. Ready? Okay, here we go. So on the first two that I'm going to show you, we're not going to talk about absolute values. We will talk about them on, we're going to do some more underneath over here, and we'll talk about what you need to do. But on this one right now, all we're going to do is we're just going to practice taking the square root. These are square roots, then we'll get to nth roots. Okay, so see how it's plus or minus? That means my final answer is going to have a plus or minus in front of it. It means I want both roots. I want the principal root and the negative root. Now the question is, can you take the square root of 36? What is the square root of 36?
6.
Now, what is the index in this problem? If it's not shown, what is the index? 2. So we're going to take 10 divided by 2. And what is 10 divided by 2?
5.
That's your answer. So plus or minus 6x to the 5th. So again, what did I do? I took the square root of the first number. That's how I got 6. And then because this is a square root, I did 10 divided by 2 and got 5. On number 2, see how it's negative? So I want a negative. See how there's no number to take the square root. So you guys, in your head, you've got to figure out, am I taking the square root? Which root am I taking? And then what is my exponent? So anytime you see an exponent, you're going to divide. So my exponent is 6. What is 6 divided by 2?
8.
Yes. Did I say 6? I meant 16 divided by 2 is 8. And so that's my final answer. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to simplify with absolute values. So absolute values are, you need absolute values for 2 reasons. And you only need them around variables. You never need them around like the numerical part, only the variable part. Okay, so the first thing that you have to determine, is this an even index or an odd index? What is the number that's in the check mark? Even. It's 2. So let's just write that. The index is 2, and it's even because, and is your exponent even or odd? Even. Okay, so let's see. And do I want the principal square root or both square roots or the negative square root? I want the principal because there's nothing in front of the radical, you guys. I want the principal. So what is the square root of 36? 6. What's 6 divided by 2? 3. So when you get that, because you divided an even exponent by an even index and you got an odd exponent, then your answer is going to be an absolute value. Notice that only the variable is an absolute value, not the numerical part. And I know you want to ask, Ms. Fleury, why didn't we do it for number 1? Because number 1, I was just showing you that we're going to divide. But now what we need to do is we need to start paying attention to where we're going to put the absolute value. Again, even exponent divided by an even number gave me an odd exponent. I need absolute value. Okay, so now my index is what? What is my index this time? My index is 4. That's even. Okay. So can I take the 4th root of 16? So what number times itself gives you 16? Times itself 4 times is 16.
2.
It is 2. And then 12 divided by 4 is?
3.
So I have this. 12 divided by 4 is 3. And remember what I said. An even exponent divided by an even index gives you an odd. So my final answer needs to be an absolute value. Now I want to do a couple more because I just don't feel like that's enough. So we're going to go underneath the 2 word problems that I gave you. So I want plus or minus. What is my index, even or odd? Even. Okay, so what's the square root of 16? 4. What's 8 divided by 2? 4. Even divided by even gives me an even. I don't need absolute value. You only need absolute value. Even divided by even gives you an odd number. And it's going to be vice versa for the odd exponents. So if it's odd divided by odd and you get even, so it's the do you guys kind of see that? So if it's odd divided by odd and you get even, then you need then absolute value. Let's do another one because I'm all about the examples. Okay, so 6 divided by 6 is 1. Okay, so even divided by even is 1 odd or even?
Odd.
So even divided by even means I need absolute values around that. Okay. Okay, so can we take the fifth root of 243? What do you think it is? So what I want to do is I want to stop and I want to show you how to use your calculator for a second. So you should have your calculators out. And there's 2 types I think that most of you have. You either have this one or you have this one, right? Okay, so if you have this one, I need you to type in, what is it? 5, second, and the little caret key right here. This caret key, and then type in 243. Okay? So again, you guys, I typed in 5 because that was the root. Second caret key. So I typed in 5, second caret key, and then I typed in 243, and I got my answer as 3. And that's how it should look. On this calculator, you're going to type in 243, second, this y to the x one, and then 5 and hit equals. So again, if you have this one, you type in the number first, second, then you type in the index. Does anybody else have a different calculator that I need to show them? Okay, so we found out that this was 3. $15 divided by 5 is what? 3. Because odd divided by odd gave me an odd, I don't need absolute values. Okay, let's do this one. We're almost done. Okay, so I'm looking for the negative root. What is the square root of 196? 14. I'm going to write x, and then my index is 2, so I'm going to divide. 4 divided by 2 is? And then I'm going to put h. And then 12 divided by 2 is? Even divided by even gave me an even, no absolute value. Even divided by even gave me an even exponent, no absolute value. It only happens when it's even, and your answer is odd, or odd, and your answer is even. Okay? One more question that we need to do, and so I can just show you how to solve it, and then you guys are going to have time to work on your homework. Okay? So we're going to go down to this problem right here. The surface area of a sphere can be determined from the volume of the sphere using the formula S equals the cube root of 36 pi v squared, where v is the volume. Determine the surface area of a sphere with a volume of 200 cubic inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to put S equals the cube root of 36 pi times 200 squared. So you guys, in this case, let's use your pi button because it's going to give you a better answer. If you don't have a pi button, then use 3.14. So we're going to do, I'm going to do 36 times pi times 200 times 200. And I'm actually going to write that whole thing down, okay? So again, I did 36 times pi times 200 times 200. If you don't have a pi button, you can use 36 times 3.14 times 200 times 200. It's going to be a little bit off compared to if you use pi. So S equals